look at me. Do you see me as I am, or what society has said I am? See me as I am, as a human being with humanity, with mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, as loving husbands, with feelings, with dreams. We are told that we can be the change we want to see. But if you don't see me, then how can the change be? If you face me, maybe you will see me. And if you see me, you might be able to help me. Listen to me. Help me tackle the trauma. Provide me with a support system. Create a safe space for me to rise, to become the noble being I was meant to be.
The Supporting Male Survivors of Violence Demonstration Initiative was a 5-year effort to help service provider organizations expand the provision of effective, culturally appropriate, trauma-informed services to boys and men harmed by violence. RTI served as the national evaluator of these programs. This video highlights what we learned in interviews with service providers and is meant to be a resource for organizations to effectively support male survivors of violence and trauma. It's important that organizations partner with each other to ensure all male survivors of violence are receiving what one service provider called a full service experience.
It's about really trying to understand that man's needs and respond to each one with sensitivity.
Most will need a combination of specialized services that will vary from person to person. Some may need trauma-specific treatment, peer support, housing assistance, or vocational services. It's critical that survivors have a voice in what their service needs are, and that organizations build a diverse partner network to meet those needs. Adopting the mindset that it takes a village can ensure that male survivors are supported with a holistic approach for positive outcomes.
We continue to bridge those gaps because organizations need to break the silos and work together. We have a common goal to reduce violence. Regardless of anything else, let's come together and do that.
Research tells us that men have higher victimization rates than women when it comes to violent crime, except for cases of rape or sexual assault. However, historically, many victim service centers and shelters have been designed for women. Organizations may need to consider creating a separate space or a more inclusive space where men feel comfortable and validated, because giving them a space for positive interaction can make a huge difference.
This is why the centers are so important. Now this kid has a setting where he can go and connect with groups of other young men. He can talk and learn about violence in the community and why his actions are bigger than himself.
These conversations and connections build community and give male survivors a chance to create a new support system.
They become champions of helping each other heal and move throughout the city safely. This work, whether it's local or national, can really focus on harnessing the strength that young men have when they bond with one another.
And by building this community, they force the world to see them. Every organization should provide all staff working with male survivors of violence the resources needed for self-care, including vicarious trauma training. This kind of training is important because while those who personally relate to the experiences of male survivors can be credible and trustworthy messengers, it also means they may be more susceptible to vicarious trauma.
You're only one person. You can only handle so much. I don't think people realize how much you get exposed to and you just keep dealing with it. Eventually it's going to catch up with you. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of these survivors.
When we think about systemic racism and Jim Crow laws, we were taught to be enemies. We had all of these dark ideologies that were passed down from generation to generation. We're still suffering the effects.
The context of systemic racism plays an important role in how organizations provide services, particularly for men of color. It is often difficult for service providers to find evidence-based practices developed for men of color that also integrate culture and historical context. But the right support can lift male survivors of violence up and empower them to be strong, compassionate, and influential leaders in their communities.
Through this program, one guy learned to just acknowledge his brothers. So when he got back to his neighborhood, hanging with his boys, and one of them was about to leave, he'd tell him, "I love you, man." Some of them were like, "Yo, what kind of games are you playing?" They couldn't receive it. But he kept at it, no matter their reactions. He wanted to express how he felt, and some have even responded with, "Yo, I love you too."
When service providers work together to actively create an environment where men of color can speak freely and feel understood, they not only transform the lives of the men they serve, their own lives are impacted as well.
I am grateful to have the opportunity to work with these amazing young men because I appreciate and value their uniqueness and the diversity of their experiences. We speak boldly about our greatness, encourage each other to experience the full spectrum of emotions that make us human. These men are precious, powerful beings, and that power will always benefit for someone so nurturing.